What's up, Calamity Jane here. We're in St. George, Utah for an e-mountain bike intro, and this is Liv Cycles, and this is the intro for their women's elite model. This is the Intrigue X Advanced E+ Elite. So that whole mouthful just means this is the latest, greatest, most awesome thing that they have to offer for women riders. So if you're familiar with Liv, they are a manufacturer that is dedicated entirely to women, built for women, by women. They took women's feedback, women's perspective, women's sizing, all of that, and built a bike around that. And being a sister brand of Giant, they can rely heavily on the technology and the development that they've come to at this point, which is obviously premium level as well. So we just spent 2 days in southern Utah here riding this bike around in some absolutely breathtaking, incredible areas. So we've had some climbs, we've had some technical sections, we've had some sand, we've had some nice, fast, flowy, ultra fun stuff. And we've really got to experience it all on this bike, including the incredible power output that this has. Also the chassis, the suspension, the brakes, the bars, the controls, everything on here is brand new for 2023. So in creating this new model, they had a three-prong goal. That was lightweight, powerful, and nimble. Lightweight was the #1 goal for them, and they said that was what women were asking for. And they want women to enjoy the e-bike experience without feeling like you're on a motorcycle with the extra heft. So they did an absolutely phenomenal job with streamlining this bicycle. It hardly looks like an e-bike. The battery is integrated fully within the down tube, and with the styling, everything is so sleek and streamlined. And absolutely incredibly, they were able to drop over 20 pounds from the previous model. This goes all the way down to, I believe the weight is about 41 pounds all in. That's not much heavier than my first mountain bike, which was completely analog. So that's pretty incredible to me, and that definitely comes across on the trail. Talking about the riding experience, something else you might notice about this bike is the Mullet wheel setup. So we have the 29-inch front, the 27.5 in the rear, and this was actually my personal first time riding one of those. And coming from a motorcycle, coming from a dirt bike background, this setup felt very familiar to me. It handles in the corners, it just wants to tip in and then whip around like kind of moto style, whereas I think when you're on 29's front and rear, to me it can feel a little heavy, a little less lively in the turns, but this, and it's not all due to wheel size, of course. That's also due to chassis design. If you're familiar with Liv and Giant, you'll be familiar with the entire Maestro setup of the chassis here. The Fox suspension, front and rear, was obviously dialed in for this exact bicycle and for its sizes. Very intuitive setup. What I really loved about the front end, something about the geometry of the front end, maybe it's the rake, the trail, the offset, whatever it is. There is such a confidence for me personally to really just get forward and attack downhills, carve into turns. It really has that fun sporting side. It was a really great feeling being so comfortable on that. And again, coming from the moto background and coming from off-road and enduro, which I typically ride, this really scratched that itch for me because it was that close. It kind of had that nice moto feeling in the corners. So that was probably my favorite thing about it. Next favorite thing, I mean, you have to talk about the power. The power of this bike is pretty phenomenal. The auto mode, the smart assist mode, is pretty intuitive all in itself. I found myself rarely switching out of that. There were some sections where I was switching to maybe higher levels of power for tricky little climbs, things like that. But I found myself doing that less and less as I learned to trust it, because it will intuitively kick on and give you that extra boost when you need it. Sometimes in level 4 or in level 5, definitely, it's almost a little too much power, a little bit too punchy, where if you're trying to come up stuff that still have some technical elements on your uphills, and you might have trouble keeping the front end down because on your down pedals, it's really giving you a lot of extra juice. But it also gives you a ton of confidence to attack things that, I mean, this is a game changer. This is a door opener, because you can really start exploring new areas, places that I would never be able to go on an analog bike. And it's also going to take you to areas that you couldn't go on a gas-powered bike, for that matter, just because of access. So we can really explore some incredible areas, such as in Utah here. Today we went up on top of this mesa, and these are some climbs that there is no way. I would have no interest in attacking something like that on an analog bike. I would just be walking the entire time, and that would not be fun for me at all. This makes the uphills fun too, as well as the downhills, which was a blast on this bike as well. It's such a tight package, so nice and refined. The suspension performance, the electronic suspension that auto adjusts, so it's gives you a nice cushy ride when you're just putting down a fire road on your way to the trailhead. And then as soon as you get going and you're really in that busy chatter, rougher stuff, you can feel the suspension reacting, and it did everything I wanted. It was always comfortable. It's pretty remarkable how spot on that was. I would say that suspension tuning is even more intuitive than the Smart Assist power mode. I was really, really impressed with the overall suspension package. There is a ton of adjustability built into the bike, everything from the handlebar to the seat dropper to the seat height. I mean, there's different adjusters for the seat height and for the seat dropper. You can adjust the controls through the app. You can add a second set of controls so that you have 6 buttons instead of 3. You can decide which functions are assigned to each button. You can also adjust the power levels on the bike itself inside the motor. This is a first for Liv. With the app, you will be able to go in there, and each of these 5 levels of power modes, you can adjust those. If you want to go 20, 40, 50, 60, 80, if you want to have some lower power and then have a bigger jump in there, you can program that all in. And it's almost overwhelming how much information, how much adjustability, how much technology is in here. But to me, it's all about the ride. At the end, it's all about the performance, and it was just an incredible amount of fun. Again, still kind of new to this, transitioning from the motorcycle side, but thoroughly impressed. I kind of thought my pedaling days were coming to a close, but you know, the way we are with access and how much I would love to ride from my garage, and just the ease and the sheer level of performance from this, that I'm kind of stunned, and it's upended my thinking about e-bikes. I'm struggling to kind of find a criticism here. It's one of those things that you're like, how good can it get? I mean, it's pretty fantastic. I might say that in the Smart Assist mode, sort of at a lower cadence of pedaling, it could feel a little bit surgy. It could have come on smoother, in my opinion, but that's a very minor complaint, and it might end up being something that you could tune out in the app itself. Shifting, everything, just the controls are velvety smooth, super nice, sleek, very responsive. That also might be another minor snivel of mine. The power controls on the left, which you can actually switch it. You can put it on either side. You can have them on both sides if you want. But anyway, mine was on the left-hand side, and when you're going and bouncing around and things, I could have actually used a bigger button with a little bit more of a tactile push, because I thought I was pushing it, and I was trying to glance down and couldn't really see if I was in the level that I wanted to, just because these controls are so seamlessly integrated. They're almost not there. So I'm sure that's one of those things that once you get used to it, you can get a lot more comfortable and a lot more accurate with your shifting and selecting power modes and all of that. But that was the only other minor snivel I think I came up with. So all in all, it's an incredible package. If you do get a chance to ride an e-mountain bike and really experience what it is, I always tell people it's not doing the work for you. I can't emphasize that enough. We still definitely got a workout today, but we went 3 times as far as I would have on an analog bike. And that workout that you get it's a useful workout. It's not a complete struggle bus. I don't like being on the struggle bus. I like having a good workout, but this allows you to find that perfect level. If you're feeling sporty, go ahead and dial your motor assist down a little bit. If you're getting tired, crank it up, run your battery out on the way home. It's such a game changer. It's a door opener, definitely worth having a look at. So check out the story. Link is down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.